The Biodiversity Paradox is a thought-provoking documentary that delves into the complex and often contradictory nature of conservation efforts. While protecting and preserving natural ecosystems is crucial for the long-term survival of countless species, efforts to do so can often result in trade-offs that can negatively impact the very biodiversity these initiatives aim to save. Through stunning footage and insightful interviews with leading conservationists, the Biodiversity Paradox explores this paradox and asks tough questions about the effectiveness of current conservation strategies. What are the indirect impacts of conservation efforts on local communities and economies? Are certain species given more priority over others? And how can we balance the need for conservation with the needs of people living in the region? This documentary is not just a call to action, but a rallying cry for a more nuanced and collaborative approach to conservation that takes into account the complex interplay between biodiversity, ecosystems, and human communities. Join us on this journey to explore the paradoxical nature of conservation, and to discover new ways in which we can preserve the beauty and diversity of our planet for generations to come. Biodiversity is the variety of life on Earth, from the smallest microbes to the largest mammals. Despite the many benefits that biodiversity provides, such as the provision of ecosystem services, it is under threat. Human activities such as habitat destruction, pollution, and climate change are driving biodiversity loss at an unprecedented rate. In response, conservation efforts are being implemented worldwide, but these efforts often come with trade-offs that must be considered. According to the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN, 1 in 4 mammal species is at risk of extinction. Similarly, 1 in 8 bird species and 1 in 3 amphibian species are threatened with extinction. These staggering statistics highlight the urgent need for conservation action. However, conservation efforts often come at a cost. Protected areas, such as national parks and wildlife reserves, are established to preserve biodiversity and provide habitats for endangered species. However, these protected areas can displace indigenous peoples and disrupt their way of life. Additionally, protected areas can restrict access to natural resources, leading to conflicts with local communities. Another trade-off in conservation efforts is the use of non-native or genetically modified species to restore habitat or prevent extinction. While these techniques can be effective, they can also have unintended consequences. Non-native species can become invasive and disrupt the ecosystem, while genetically modified species can have unknown long-term effects on biodiversity. Furthermore, the financial cost of conservation efforts is often high. Governments and non-governmental organizations must allocate resources to fund conservation projects. This can divert funds from other important social and economic initiatives, such as healthcare and education. In conclusion, the biodiversity paradox highlights the tension between preserving biodiversity and meeting human needs. While conservation efforts are necessary to prevent further biodiversity loss, the trade-offs involved must be carefully considered. By taking a holistic approach that considers the social, economic, and ecological implications of conservation efforts, we can work towards a more sustainable future for all. In conclusion, the biodiversity paradox reveals the complexity of conservation efforts. While protecting species and ecosystems is critical, there are trade-offs that must be addressed. We need to acknowledge the social, economic, and political factors that affect conservation efforts and work collaboratively to find solutions that benefit both people and nature. The best way forward is to prioritize community engagement and involvement in conservation efforts. This includes recognizing the intrinsic value of biodiversity and the role it plays in sustaining human well-being. We must also address the broader systemic issues that contribute to biodiversity loss, such as climate change and unsustainable resource use. If we can find ways to balance biodiversity protection with the needs of people and society, we can help ensure a sustainable future for all. By taking a holistic approach to conservation, we can find a way to navigate the biodiversity paradox and preserve the natural world for generations to come.